How's it going, folks? Today we're going to be looking at a real classic with a 3D platformer Ape Escape for the PlayStation 1. For many, the late 90s was an era where the 3D platform was both a creative and financial goldmine, with many games pushing the genre towards even more wondrous places. And some games that just, well, did the exact opposite. And the Ape Escape series has very much been in that middle ground of notoriety within the 3D genre. Not as big as, say, Ratchet & Clank or Jak and Daxter, but certainly not as unknown as, say, Jumping Flash, perhaps. And while Ape Escape didn't necessarily revolutionise things, it did bring with it some creative ideas that did help to separate it from many other games at the time. With that all said, let's get down to it, shall we? This, my friends, is Ape Escape. We start off our story in somewhere Japan, where a monkey mascot named Spectre comes across a helmet designed to heighten the wearer's intelligence. How did he end up with this helmet? Who knows, we really just get this cool opening to explain how. With his intelligence heightened, Spectre mass produces more helmets so he and his other primate brethren can take over the world.
Of course.
As best friends Spike and Buzz head up to their good friend the Professor's place so as to witness the unveiling of his new time machine, they arrive just as the monkeys have taken over the lab, subduing the Professor and his assistant Katie. The apes manage to activate the time machine, sending Spectre and his minions as well as Spike and Buzz throughout points in time. Spike gets a message from the Professor instructing him to capture all the escaped monkeys so that way they don't wreak havoc on the past. So with that said, shall we take a look?
Let's go!
You son of a bitch. I knew this would happen. I knew this would come. It is not you that plays me, but I that plays you. I will send you to a worse place than you could ever imagine. You son of a... Oh. Right, yeah. Probably should have remembered about this, shouldn't I?
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Ape Escape holds some precedence within the PlayStation family as it was the first game to fully utilise the DualShock sticks, enabling us to not only swap out the D-pad for controlling the player's movements, but also to work with each of the game's gadgets as well. All joking aside, this is really what it was like for me when I first played this game as a child, only it took me more like 5 minutes to understand that these pads here weren't just for show. This was mostly because, up to this point, games like Spyro and Crash Warped allowed you to play with both settings, and I guess I figured, why swap out now? So, how do the analog sticks work within the game's gadgets? Well, because our collectathon collectibles are actually living creatures that don't want to be caught, we have to be a bit forceful to get them to cooperate with us. Our main tools for getting this done are the Time Net that upon catching apes will send them back to the present, and the Stun Club that can not only, well, stun apes, but also works as your main weapon against enemies. Also, it looks kind of like a kid-friendly lightsaber, so that's cool too, I guess. Now, because we need to react in a full 360 range, the right analog stick works as your attack button, and your action buttons are used as quick selecting gadgets, similar to the 3D Legend of Zelda games. As you progress through the game, more gadgets are given to you that allow you to traverse through levels and catch monkeys easier. These include such things as the dash hoop, the sky flyer, and the slingshot. Each one needs a certain movement of the right analog stick to use, such as the dash hoop and the sky flyer needing to be rotated around in a circular motion, or the slingshot needing to be pulled back in the opposite direction of where you're aiming at. This might sound like a very forceful and almost unnecessary way of playing, but it actually comes off pretty alright. And as far as I know, there weren't many games that use this type of realistic player input, besides maybe Mario Party 64. Trust me, this is no layer we're talking about here. The only problem is that at times it can be a bit frustrating with the gadgets that require rotating, most because they have a bit of a delay on them. Other than that, they all seem to play out fairly well, even the remote RC cars steered pretty good. Besides seeing as this is still a platformer, let's talk a bit about the level design, shall we? When you start out each level, you're given a certain amount of monkeys to capture in order to proceed to the next level. After you've caught the last one, you're instantly teleported out and are free to move to the next level if you so choose to. For the purpose of getting to the final showdown, as well as for those of you who dare to go for the full completion, you can revisit levels to collect the last remaining monkeys you missed out on, including ones who are inaccessible until you have the right gadget necessary to reach them. The levels themselves are designed so that you move from area to area, finding apes scattered around, either hiding or simply hanging out chilling. At times I kind of feel bad about catching them and voicing them back into their unevolved minds. Look here, they even took the time out to get a picture framed with two of them. There is some dark undertones here that I never saw as a child. Then again, the monkeys start to prove they're not afraid of pulling out some extra firepower when threatened, whether it being blasters, submachine guns, rocket launchers, mechs, or even dinosaurs at points. You see, this is why I stick to Jiggy, Stars or Power Cells. You never see them getting this aggressive. At the most, they'll just insult you.
Hurry up, pick me up, shithead.
Now at times it can be a bit hard to track them down, but thankfully you get your hands on a monkey radar that makes it a lot easier to find those last few. Hell, it even hands out little facts for each of them, adding even more evidence to how grim this game really is. Each time period is split into 3 levels, though unlike Crash 3 that looks at various iconic locations, we mostly stick to just BC times like the Jurassic period, the Ice Age, or whenever beaches were invented. We do inevitably end up back in the present day as the monkeys start their conquest, which I thought was a nice touch and really built up the game's climax some more. We find out early on in the game that Buzz has been brainwashed by Spectre so that we can have a little friend-on-friend confrontation, and the way they do this is by racing through an obstacle course. An obstacle course that you don't actually need to win in order to move on in the game. Okay then. We only get a few boss fights here and there, and they only really show up towards the game's final levels. They don't become too much of a problem except for this one here that took way too long and really had me losing my mind at points. I know it seems kind of pointless, but I want to bring up the characters for a bit. I'll say this, I don't have much of an issue with the voice actors or the writing, but I do find their delivery of the lines to be very off-putting most of the time.
Professor, Katie, I will save you right now.
What a stubborn guy. You've come this far? However, I don't think I'm giving Professor and the girl back yet.
As for the characters themselves, they're alright, but if you don't mind me saying, for some reason, seem to write off Katie as being a bit of a bitch towards the game's end.
What are you doing? We must do something. Can't you be a little more gentle? Hey, stop being so carefree and get me out of here.
The only character who really stands out is Spectre, who admittedly gets points just for his calm supervillain-like attitude. However, I'm a little puzzled as to what was the layout of his plan after going back in time and why he was so fixated on turning Spike into his slave. I do however like the fact that at the game's end we do see hints of compassion out of Spectre for his former owner, so that's nice.
Spectre, by any chance do you want to go back to the amusement park?
If there's one thing that really stands out besides the controls, it's the music used throughout the game. There's a nice use of drum and bass music with other instruments mixed in now and then that really helps to create this upbeat atmosphere. While the monkeys are your main priority, you can find Spectre coins hidden around that can unlock 3 minigames that utilise the DualShock some more. These include Ski Kids, which features the Coss racing on 3 tracks where you control each ski using both analog sticks. The second is Spectre Boxing, that honestly just feels like a much weaker and rubbery copy of the Wii Sports Boxing. And third we have Galaxy Ape, an arcade shooter similar to Asteroids except we're given pigs, one-eyed starfish and creepy giant faces to shoot at instead. Like the skiing, it's alright, though this one at least has co-op with it. You also have time trials available where you have to collect the same amount of monkeys again in each level, only while being timed, which I'm guessing wouldn't have rewarded me with much. While I didn't get all the Spectre coins or even attempt to complete all the time trials, I did manage to capture all the monkeys, which allowed me to go head to head with Spectre for a second time at what is supposed to be in another dimension apparently.
Wait a minute, is this just a cover up for us really being dead? Curse you, censorship!
I do want to say that I like the fact that developers didn't just reuse the same fight as before, unlike some games I know of, and it comes with one hell of an epic final attack. It is worth noting that in 2005, a remake titled Ape Escape on the Loose was released for the PSP, which came with a much more softer look to it and an increase in the game's draw distance. For some reason they also renamed some of the characters, which I'm a little puzzled on, but I've heard of worse changes being made in remakes. Looking at you, Silent Hill HD.
So then, does Ape Escape still hold up today? Actually, yeah, it kinda does.
I'm not going to pretend there aren't some problems here and there with things like the camera and some of the gadgets, and to be fair, it's not an especially long game either, but I don't really count that as a sin against the game if I'm having fun the whole time, which I very much did. The levels are colourful, the music is awesome, and the DualShock manages to work with the gameplay and not against it.
So if you're looking for a 3D platformer that isn't Mario, Crash, Banjo, Spyro, Jack, Ratchet, Sly, Conker, Klonoa, then hey, this might just be for you. Will I be returning to the series for the also critically received sequels? Can't see why not. So hey, don't forget you can subscribe for even more Hot Coss goodness, and you can check me out on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks again guys, and hey, be seeing you around.